Ever have that feeling when you're going through a big change, maybe a huge life shift, and everyone talks about becoming someone new?
Mm-hmm. Like a total transformation narrative.
Exactly. But inside, it feels less like becoming new and more like, well, like uncovering something or returning to someone you sort of always were.
That really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Personal transformation is often so much more nuanced than just a simple before and after picture.
Spot on. And that's actually what we're diving into today. We're looking at this really fascinating essay.
Ah, yes. It's called A Slow Homecoming. Through Fire, Through Water, Through Flame by Dr. Jaime Hoerricks, founded on Substack.
Right. And it's just this incredibly reflective piece. Dr. Hurricks weaves together their own experience, specifically being 1 year into HRT, hormone replacement therapy.
For those maybe less familiar with the term.
Yeah. And they blend this personal journey with mythology figures like Brigid, the Cailleach, and even the science of how our bodies are constantly renewing themselves.
It's a powerful mix. And the central idea is looking at transition, well, not as this straight line to a totally new identity.
No, not at all. Hurricks uses terms like a spiral, uh, a looping back, even remembering forward.
Remembering forward. I like that. Remembering towards someone who has, as they put it, always been.
Exactly. So our mission today for you listening is to really explore this perspective. We want to pull out some key ideas about navigating change, finding that deeper meaning.
And understanding those parts of self-discovery that maybe get overlooked sometimes. We want to get into the real substance without getting sort of bogged down.
Right. We want those aha moments for you.
And one thing that jumped out right away, for me at least, was this image Horrocks encountered.
Oh, the your cells contain the universe one.
That's the one. At first you think, okay, beautiful metaphor. But for Horrocks, it became something much more literal, almost. A sense of memory held in the body.
Like a physical knowing. It hints at this really deep link between our bodies and our inner selves, doesn't it?
Absolutely, this profound connection.
Okay, so let's really dig into this core idea then, this slow homecoming. These images Horrocks uses spiral, looping back, remembering forward. They're so different from how we usually frame major changes.
They really are. The common narrative is often about forging a completely new identity, right? Focused on the external.
Yeah, what people can see.
But Horrocks shifts the focus inward,
Hmm.
suggesting that these outward changes are actually about revealing something essential that was, well, already there. Latent, maybe.
And this idea of sacred labor in changing the body, that really struck me.
It reframes the whole thing.
It does. It suggests it's not done out of shame or feeling like you're not good enough, but as an act of profound respect for your true self.
It gives it a sense of reverence.
Yeah.
This feeling of earning or forging the self you know you are.
Yes, that active participation, it elevates it beyond just, say, medical steps or changing how you look.
It becomes this deeply intentional, meaningful journey. And the way Horrocks contrasts it with the Phoenix myth is really insightful.
Ah, right. Not being reborn is something totally different.
No, it's more like the self being drawn forward, pulled by what they call the will to live as I truly am. It's regeneration as return.
A return, not a creation from scratch. That feels important.
Very. And to explore this, Horrocks introduces this amazing triad of figures or symbols.
Brigid, the Z-Rod, and the Cailleach. Yeah, they call them constellations that became guides almost in their experience of re-inhabiting a changing body.
Constellations.
Yeah.
That's a lovely way to put it. Like navigational points. They frame them as stations or even sites of sacred labor.
Linking the very personal modern experience to something ancient.
Exactly. And Horace
Yeah.
acknowledges this. The language might be contemporary, transition, HRT, neuroplasticity.
But the journey itself feels ancient, rooted in, well, Gaelic and even pre-Gaelic sacred histories, as they mention.
It really speaks to that universal longing, doesn't it? To be seen for who we are, to feel whole, to be remade in alignment with our truth, and just to be welcomed home.
Welcomed home in our own skin. Yeah.
These archetypes seem to resonate because they tap into something timeless about change and identity.
Okay, let's start with the first one. Brigid. Hoerricks paints this picture of her as a triple goddess.
Right. Associated with the forge, the well, and the hearth. Very elemental, very practical domains. Bodily, even.
And the essay highlights Brigid as representing the feminine as practice, not just an idea, but the actual work, tending, shaping, keeping, all seen as holy.
It grounds the sacred in the everyday. So, for you listening, maybe this suggests that even those small, consistent actions you take during change can be deeply meaningful.
The Forge connection is especially interesting. Hoerricks talks about their past as a Highland Games athlete.
Right, involving intense physical forging.
But transition brought this other dimension, not just strength, but also surrender, allowing the body to change, sometimes unexpectedly.
That's a huge shift, isn't it? The forge, usually about forceful creation, becomes a place of allowing, of
Yeah.
revelation almost.
Yeah. Brigid's fire, in this view, isn't destructive. It's about exposing, peeling back layers to reveal the truest self underneath.
It makes you think, in your own life, what changes might need more surrender than force.
Definitely. And you can almost feel the slow process of HRT described here, the skin softening, changes in, well, hunger or scent, the emotional shifts.
Even the aches and pains.
Right. All part of Brigid's long shaping. This sacred labor that involves both fire, intensity, but also fatigue, deep work.
And the contrast Hoerricks draws is key. Other mythologies have forge gods making weapons, things for conflict.
But Brigid's forge here is about return, reforming the body not for battle, but as a vessel.
A vessel for self-knowing, and a different kind of strength, not just physical, but the inner strength to witness your own change.
Okay, then there's the Z-rod and double disc, this symbol from Pictish stones in Scotland.
Enigmatic, as Hoerricks says, seen everywhere on these stones, but its exact meaning is debated. It definitely seems to speak of thresholds, though.
Yeah, common interpretations link it to life and death, the soul's journey, things like that.
But Dr. Hoerricks offers this really compelling modern take. They see it as a kind of transcosmology before its time.
Representing two selves or two states, the body given and the body claimed.
Exactly. Bound together by that central line, the crossing, which they link to the fire of the forge and the water of the well. It's like a map of the journey.
I like how they stress it's not a rigid binary, though. It's a continuum, a story in motion.
It's a gesture of process, not a final answer.
Yeah.
Which feels very true to life, doesn't it?
It does, and it connects back beautifully to Brigid's realms. That line is like the fire line between the past and present body in the forge, and also the axis in the well, connecting different soul states, maybe the defended self versus the more open, porous self.
So for you listening, this symbol could represent the different stages or aspects of yourself that are linked by whatever change you're navigating.
And the third figure is the Cailleach.
The veiled one, stormbringer, maker of hills, embodies winter, time, stone, sovereignty.
She represents a different kind of return, Hoerricks suggests. Not softening, but like a mountain reappearing when the snow melts. Powerful emergence.
Yes, she embodies that part of the self that doesn't need to justify its form. It just claims its age, its changes, its elemental nature.
And that distinction Hoerricks makes is crucial.
Yeah.
She provides precedent, not permission.
Right. It's about seeing a lineage of enduring, transforming forms, not asking for approval.
And her connection to the other realms?
To the well, she's that quiet presence during the descent, the shape of the land beneath temporary forms, trusting what the well reveals.
Okay.
And to the hearth, she's older than stories, rooted in stone, embodying quiet mastery, that inherent need to just burn, to exist.
So putting them all together, Brigid, the Z-rod, the Cailleach, Hoerricks calls this the triad of rebirth.
And this is key, not rebirth as a totally new start, but as a spiraled return, looping back, but
Yeah.
maybe on a different level.
And this leads to the threefold labor of transition. What were they again?
Forging the body, replenishing the spirit, and restoking the self.
Right. It really drives home this idea that transition is sacred. It happens through the body, yes, but also through story, symbol, lineage, something bigger.
It's a holistic view.
Let's go a bit deeper into the forge again. It is interesting, isn't it, how the forge is often male-coded in mythology.
It really is. Which makes Brigid's integrated role in Gaelic tradition, forge, well, in hearth, stand out even more.
Her role is more about tending, nurturing the flame, not just the one-off act of creation.
Exactly. It implies ongoing care. And Hoerricks' athletic background, again, provides that insight transition, adding surrender, allowing change without fearing you'll lose yourself.
That image of Brigid's fire burning away the non-essential, revealing the truest metal, it's very evocative.
It suggests that facing those intense moments, those fires, can actually bring clarity about who you really are.
And the slow physical changes of HRT, the moments of seeing an unfamiliar reflection, they become part of this sacred forging.
Even the discomfort, the aches, are reframed. Not just side effects, but part of the long shaping, part of the labor.
And the Z-rod, as that fire line between the past trained body and the present inhabited one, it emphasizes integration, not replacement.
So the forge isn't just about making something new. Hoerricks sees it as an altar, a place of repeated self-offering for this slow becoming.
Forging not to fight, but to return.
Exactly. Reforming the body to hold self-knowing, softness, and that sovereign strength of simply witnessing your own unfolding.
Okay, let's move to the well. Hoerricks describes a shift happening after the initial, maybe more intense fire of transition cools a bit.
Yeah, move towards a quieter, more honest stillness. That's when the well begins to call.
Unlike rivers or tides, the well just waits, doesn't it? It pulls you inward. It demands a deliberate descent.
It feels intimate. And across cultures, it often has this insistently feminine association, guarded, veiled, spoken to.
Brigid's wells, treated with offerings and prayers, are seen as thresholds to the deep self, discerning your intention.
And Hoerricks describes their own experience of the well during transition as this descent into feelings they hadn't fully known before.
Like dysphoria, yes, but also unexpected joy, grief perhaps for what might have been, and just unfamiliar sensations, physical and emotional.
Heightened emotions, changed touch, language, maybe even failing sometimes.
And the key is sitting with it, waiting it out, lowering into it slowly, like that bucket going down into the dark.
Right. And here the Z-rod shifts again. It's the axis within the well, connecting different states of being. The well itself is the liminal shaft where memories and feelings drop.
And the Cailleach is there too.
As that quiet, inevitable presence, winter has reckoning, allowing grief its depth, trusting what the stillness reveals, even if it's just you as you are now.
This leads Hoerricks to develop rituals, right? Slow bathing, journaling.
Speaking to ancestors, making offerings, new moon rituals, things that remind them of the ongoing transformation happening beneath the surface.
So the well teaches how to actually dwell in the reshaped body, to return to presence, a stillness that holds everything.
A stillness that remembers.
Okay, finally, the hearth. This is the place of holding, of return.
And of living inside the process. It contrasts with the forge's transformation and the well's revelation. It's about staying.
Hoerricks mentions finding this one harder to grasp initially. Less dramatic, maybe.
Perhaps. But its power is in that question it asks, okay, now that you've unearthed this truth, how do you live with it? How do you make a life from it?
And the connection to hearth deities often being, well, fluid in gender, refusing roles, that feels significant here.
It does. The hearth anchors you. It embodies sovereignty through quiet rhythm, repetition, those unseen acts of care.
So transition connects to the mundane magic of repetition, daily routines.
Yes, like restoking a fire. Not to prove you belong, but because you do belong. It's inherent.
The hearth carries memory as presence, connecting to ancestors, to figures like Brigid's nuns, the Cailleach, reinforcing that just being is enough.
It becomes, in Hoerricks' words, the site of queer homemaking.
Making a home in your own reshaped but fundamentally familiar body, and in the quiet flame of daily life.
Yes. It sustains. It offers that feeling of being welcomed home without needing to constantly start over.
Which leads beautifully into that final section, the blessing for the returning body.
It really ties it all together, the journey through fire, smoldering into a truer heat, through water, descending and listening, and the hearth, those small holding rituals.
And it powerfully reiterates that the remade body isn't brand new. It's ancient, rediscovered.
The examples are so specific in touching the softened jaw, accepting the belly, answering your name without flinching.
It highlights how the sacred isn't always in big ceremonies. It's often in the everyday acts.
And it honors carrying the past self in marrow, scars, breath. It's not erasure.
So it's not just rebirth. It's remembering, reweaving, a slow homecoming to the body that was always waiting.
Beautifully put.
In the final thoughts, Hoerricks really lands on the comfort found in knowing transition is ongoing. It's a spiral, not a finish line.
Right. A return that evolves, deepens with each cycle, bringing you closer to that truer self.
The focus shifts, doesn't it? Away from waiting for some final form.
Towards embracing the continuous process of re-inhabiting yourself, seeing it as seasonal, cyclical.
And the Z-rod comes back again as that symbol of passage. Different states along that tension line, the crossing, marked by fire, water, hearth.
It feels like it's about finally letting go of trying to be anything else, accepting who you are now while knowing you'll continue to evolve.
The body becomes a blessed offering, not just an outcome.
Yes. And it ends with that really resonant blessing for the returning body, for the journey of being present and true.
So, wrapping up this deep dive into Dr. Hoerricks' essay, the big takeaway for me is this reframing of transition as a slow homecoming.
Definitely. Not a break from the past, but a return. And the power of those symbols, the forge for reshaping, the well for introspection, the hearth for belonging.
These spaces of transformation, reflection, and just being home.
And that core idea that our bodies hold these deep histories, that change can actually be a form of remembering who we truly are.
It's quite profound. So, for you listening, as you think about your own changes, big or small, maybe consider this frame.
Instead of only focusing on what you're becoming, is there maybe also an element of returning to something essential within you?
Yeah. And what might your own personal forge, your well, and your hearth look like on your journey? Where do you find transformation, reflection, and that sense of home?
It's definitely something to ponder. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive today.